Hi guys, I'm back. Today I'm going to read Judges 15 to 19, Proverbs 29, and Psalm 62. Let's get started. Later on, Samson went to visit his wife. He took a young goat with him. He went at the time the wheat was being gathered. He said, "I'm going to my wife's room," but her father wouldn't let him go in. Her father said, "I was sure you hated her. So I gave her to your companion. Isn't her younger sister more beautiful? Take her instead." Samson said to "This time I have a right to get even with the Philistines. I'm going to hurt them badly." So he went out and caught 300 foxes. He tied them in pairs by their tails. Then he tied a torch to each pair of tails. He lit the torches. He let the foxes loose in the fields of grain that belonged to the Philistines. He burned up the grain that had been cut and stacked. He burned up the grain that was still growing. He also burned up the vineyards and the olive trees. The Philistines asked, "Who did this?" They were told, "Samson did. He's the son-in-law of the man from Timnah." Samson did because his wife was given to his companion. So the Philistines went up and burned the woman and her father to death. Samson said to the Philistines, "Is that how you act? Then I promise I won't stop until I pay you back." He struck them down with heavy blows. He killed many of them. Then he went down and stayed in the cave. It was in the rock of Etam. The Philistines went up and camped in Judah. They spread out near Lehi. The people of Judah asked, "Why have you come to fight against us?" "We've come to take Samson as our prisoner," they answered. "We want to do to him what he did to us." Then 3,000 men from Judah went to get Samson. They went down to the cave in the rock of Etam. They said to Samson, "Don't you realize the Philistines are ruling over us? What have you done to us?" Samson answered, "I only did to them what they did to me." The men of Judah said to him, "We've come to tell you what. We're going to hand you over to the Philistines." Samson said, "Promise me you won't kill me yourselves." "We agreed," they answered. "We'll only tie you up and hand you over to them. We won't kill you." So they tied him up with 2 new ropes. They led him out from the rock. Samson approached Lehi. The Philistines came toward him, shouting, and the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully on Samson. The ropes on his arms became like burned thread. They dropped off his hands. He found a fresh jawbone of a donkey. He grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. Then Samson said, "By using a donkey's jawbone, I've made them look like donkeys. By using a donkey's jawbone, I've struck down 1,000 men." Samson finished speaking. Then he threw the jawbone away. That's why the place was called Ramath Lehi. Samson was very thirsty, so he cried out to the Lord. He said, "You have helped me win this great battle. Do I have to die of thirst now? Must I fall into the power of people who haven't even been circumcised?" They aren't your people. Then God opened up the hollow place in Lehi. Water came out. When Samson drank the water, his strength returned. He felt as good as new. So the spring was called En-Hakkore. It's still there in Lehi. Samson led Israel for 20 years. In those days, the Philistines were in the land. So one day, Samson went to Gaza. There he saw a prostitute. He went in to spend the night with her. The people of Gaza were told, "Samson is here." So they surrounded the place. They hid and waited for him at the city gate all night long. They didn't make any move against him during the night. They said, "Let's wait until the sun comes up, then we'll kill him." But Samson stayed there only until the middle of the night. Then he got up. He took hold of the doors of the city gate. He also took hold of the 2 doorposts. He tore them loose, together with their metal bar. He picked them up and put them on his shoulders. Then he carried them to the top of the hill that faces Hebron. Sometime later, Samson fell in love again. The woman lived in the valley of Sorek. Her name was Delilah. The rulers of the Philistines went to her. They said, "See if you can get him to tell you the secret of why he's so strong. Find out how we can overpower him. Then we can tie him up. We can bring him under our control. Each of us will give you 28 pounds of silver." So Delilah said to Samson, "Tell me the secret of why you are so strong. Tell me how you can be tied up and controlled." Samson answered her, "Let someone tie me up with 70 bowstrings. They must be strings that aren't completely dry, and I'll become as weak as any other man." So the Philistine rulers brought 7 new bowstrings too. They weren't completely dry. Delilah tied Samson up with them. The men were hiding in the room. She called out to him, "Samson, the Philistines are attacking you." But he struck the bowstrings easily. They were like pieces of string that had come too close to a flame. So the secret of why he was so strong wasn't discovered. Delilah spoke to Samson again. You have made me look foolish, she said. You told me a lie. Come on, tell me how you can be tied. Samson said, let someone tie me tightly with new ropes. They must be ropes that have never been used. Then I'll become as weak as any other man. So Delilah got some new ropes. She tied him up with them. Men were hiding in the room. She called out to him, Samson, the Philistines are attacking you. But he snapped off the ropes off his arms. They fell off just as if they were threads. Delilah spoke to Samson. All this time you have been making me look foolish, she said. You have been telling me lies. This time really tell me how you can be tied up. He replied, but weave the 7 braids of my hair into the cloth on the loop. Then tie the cloth in with a pin. If you do, I'll become as weak as any other man. So while Samson was sleeping, Delilah took hold of the 7 braids of his hair. She wove them into the cloth on a loop. Then she tied the cloth with a pin. Again she called out to him, Samson, the Philistines are attacking you. He woke up from his sleep. He pulled up the pin and the loop, together with the cloth. Then she said to him, how can you say I love you? You won't even share your secret with me. This is the 3rd time you've made me look foolish, and you still haven't told me the secret of why you are so strong. She continued to pester him day after day. She nagged him until he was sick and tired of it. So he told her everything. He said, my hair has never been cut. That's because I've been a Nazarite since the day I was born. A Nazarite is set apart to God. If you shave my head, I won't be strong anymore. I'll become as weak as any other man. Delilah realized he had told her everything, so she sent a message to the Philistine rulers. She said, come back one more time. He has told me everything. So the rulers returned. They brought the silver with them. Delilah got Samson to go to sleep on her lap. Then she called for someone to shave off the 7 braids of his hair. That's how she began to bring Samson under her control, and he wasn't strong anymore. She called her, Samson, the Philistines are attacking you. She woke up from her sleep. He thought, I'll go just as I did before. I'll shake myself free. But he didn't know that the Lord had left him. Then the Philistines grabbed him. They pricked his eyes out. They took him down to Gaza. They put bronze chains around him, and they made him grind in the prison. His hair had been shaved, but the hair on it began to grow again. The rulers of the Philistines gathered together. They were going to offer a great sacrifice to their god Dagon. They were going to celebrate. They said, our God has handed our enemy Samson over to us. When the people saw Samson, they praised their God. They said, our God has handed our enemy over to us. Our enemy has destroyed our land. He has killed large numbers of our people. After they had drunk a lot of wine, they said, bring Samson out. Let him put on a show for us. So they called Samson out of the prison. He put on a show for them. They had him stand near the temple pillars. Then he spoke to the servant who was holding his head. He said, put me where I can feel the pillars. I'm talking about the ones that hold up the temple. I want to lean against them. The temple was crowded with men and women. All the Philistine rulers were there. About 3,000 men and women were on the roof. They were watching Samson put on a show. Then he prayed to the Lord. Samson said, Lord and King, show me that you still have concern for me. Please, God, make me strong just one more time. Let me pay the Philistines back for what they did to my 2 eyes. Let them do it with only one blow. And Samson reached toward the 2 pillars that were in the middle of the temple. They were the ones that held up the temple. He put his right hand on one of them. He put his left hand on the other. He leaned hard against them. Samson said, let me die together with the Philistines. Then he pushed with all his might. The temple came down on the rulers. It fell on all the people in it. So Samson killed many more Philistines when he died than when he did while he lived. Then his brothers went down to get him. So did his whole family. All of them brought Samson back home. They buried him in the tomb of his father Manoah. It's between Zorah and Eshtaol. Samson had led Israel for 20 years. A man named Micah lived in the hill country of Ephraim. He said to his mother, someone took 28 pounds of silver from me. I had to curse the one who took it. I have the silver with me. I'm the one who took it. Then his mother said, my son, may the Lord bless you. Then he gave the 28 pounds of silver back to his mother. She said to him, I'm making a promise to sell apart my silver to the Lord. My son, I want you to use it to cover a statue of a god made out of wood or stone. That's why I'll give the silver back to you. Micah gave the silver back to his mother, and then she gave 5 pounds of it to a skilled worker who made things out of silver. He used the silver for the statue. That statue was put in Micah's hands. That same Micah had a small temple. He made a sacred apron and some statues of his family gods. He appointed one of his sons to serve as his priest. In those days, Israel didn't have a king. The people did anything they thought was right. Young Levi had been living in the land that belonged to the tribe of Judah. He was from Bethlehem in Judah. He left that town to look for some other place to stay. On his way, he came to Micah's house. It was in the hill country of Ephraim. Micah asked him, "Where are you from?" "I'm a Levi," he said. "I'm from Bethlehem in Judah. I'm looking for a place to stay." Then Micah said to him, "Live with me. Be my father and priest. I'll give you 4 ounces of silver a year. I'll also give you food, clothes, and food." So the Levi agreed to live with him. The young man became just like one of Micah's sons to him. Then Micah appointed the Levi to serve as his priest. He lived in Micah's house. Micah said, "Now I know that the Lord will be good to me. This Levi has become my priest." In those days, Israel didn't have a king. And in those days, the tribe of Dan was looking for a place where they could make their homes. They hadn't been able to take over their own share of land among the tribes of Israel. So the people of Dan sent out 5 of their leading men from Zorah and Eshtaol. They told the men to look over the land and check it out. Those men did it for all the people of Dan. Those people told the men, "Go, check out the land." So they entered the hill country of Ephraim. They went to the house of Micah. That's where they spent the night. When they came near Micah's house, they recognized a voice. It was the voice of a young Levi. So they turned off the road and stopped there. They asked him, "Who brought you here? What are you doing in this place? Why are you here?" The Levi told them what Micah had done for him. He said, "He has hired me. I am his priest." And then they said to him, "Please ask God for advice. Try to find out whether we will have success on our journey." The priest answered him, "Go in peace. The Lord is pleased with your journey." So the 5 men left. They came to Laish. There they saw that the people felt secure. They were living in safety. Like the people in Zion, they were at peace. And their land had everything they needed. Things were going very well for them. They lived a long way from the people of Zion, and they didn't think they would ever need help from anyone else. The men returned to Zorah and Eshtaol. The people asked them, "What did you find out?" They answered, "Come on, let's attack you. We've seen the land, and it is very good. Aren't you going to do something? Don't wait any longer. Go there and take it over. When you get there, you'll find people who aren't expecting anything bad to happen to you. The land is plenty of room. God has handed it over to you. It's a land that has everything you'll ever need." So 600 men from the tribe of Dan started from Zorah and Eshtaol. They were prepared for battle. On their way, they set up camp. Their camp was near Kiryas Jearim in Judah. That's why the place is called Mahaneh Dan to this day. It's west of Kiryas Jearim. From there, they went into the hill country of Ephraim. They came to Micah's house. Then the 5 men who had lived over the land of Laish spoke to the other members of the tribe. They said, "Don't you know that one of these houses has a sacred linen apron in it? And some statues of the family gods are there. That house also has another statue of God killed with silver. Now you know what to do." So they turned off the road and stopped there. They went to the house of the young Levi. He was at Micah's place. They greeted the young man. 600 men from Dan stood at the entrance of the gate. They were prepared for battle. The 5 men who had looked over the land went inside. They took a statue covered with silver. They also took the family gods and the linen apron. During that time, the priest stood at the entrance of the gate. The 600 men stood there with him. They were prepared for battle. And the 5 men went into Micah's house and took all those things. The priest spoke to him. He asked, "What are you doing?" And they answered him, "Be quiet. Don't say a word. Come with us. Be our father and priest. You can serve a whole tribe and family group in Israel as our priest. Isn't that better than serving just one man's family?" The priest was very pleased. He took the linen apron and the family god. He also took the statue of the god that was covered with silver. And then the priest left with the people. They put their little children and their livestock in front of them. They also put everything else they owned in front of them. Then they turned and went on their way. All the men who lived near Micah were called together. Then they left and caught up with the people of Dan. That's because Dan's people hadn't gone very far from Micah's house. Those who lived near Micah shouted at them. The people of Dan turned around and asked Micah, "What's the matter with you? Why did you call out your men to fight against us?" He replied, "You took away the gods I made, and you took away my priest. What do I have left? So how can you ask, what's the matter with you?" The people of Dan answered, "Don't argue with us. Some of the men may get angry and attack you. Then you and your family will lose your lives." So the people of Dan went on their way. Micah saw that they were too strong, so he turned around and went back home. The people of Dan took what Micah had made. They also took his priest. They continued on their way to Laish. They went there to fight against the people who were at peace and secure. The people of Dan struck them down with their swords. They burned down their city. No one could save those people in their city. They lived a long way from Sidon, and they didn't think they would ever need help from anyone else. Their city was located in a valley near Beth Rehob. The people of Dan rebuilt the city. Then they made their homes there. They named it Dan. That's because they traced their family line back to Dan. He was the son of Israel. The city used to be called Laish. There the people of Dan set up for themselves the statue of the god that was covered with silver. Jonathan and his sons were priests for the tribe of Dan. Jonathan was the son of Gershom, the son of Moses. Jonathan and his sons were priests until the time when the land was captured. The people of Dan continued to use the statue Micah had made. They used it during the whole time the house of God was in Shiloh. In those days, Israel didn't have a king. There was a Levite who lived deep in the hill country of Ephraim. He got a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah, but she wasn't faithful to him. She left him. She went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem in Judah. She stayed there for 4 months. Then her husband went to see her. He tried to talk her into coming back with him. He had a servant and 2 donkeys with him. She took her husband into her parents' home. When her father saw him, he gladly welcomed him. His father-in-law, the woman's father, begged him to stay. So the Levite remained with him for 3 days. He ate and drank and slept there. On the 4th day they got around. The Levite prepared to leave. But the woman's father said to his son-in-law, "Have something to eat. It will give you strength. Then you can go on your way." So the 2 of them sat down. They ate and drank together. After that, the woman's father said, "Please stay tonight. Enjoy yourself." But the man got up to go. His father-in-law talked him into staying, so he stayed there that night. On the morning of the 5th day, the Levite got up to go. But the woman's father said, "Have something to eat. It will give you strength. Wait until this afternoon." So the 2 of them got up, ate together, and the man got up to leave. His concubine and 7 got up when he did. But his father-in-law, the woman's father, spoke to him again. "Look," he said, "it's over this evening. The day is nearly over, so spend another night here. Please stay. Enjoy yourself. Early tomorrow morning you can get up and go back home." But the man didn't want to stay another night, so he left. He went toward Jebus. Jebus is also called Jerusalem. The Levite had his 2 donkeys and his concubines with him. The donkeys had saddles on them. By the time the travelers came near Jebus, the day was almost over. So the servant said to his master, "Come, let's stop at this Jebusite city. Let's spend the night here." His master replied, "No, we won't go into any city where strangers live. Her people aren't Israelites. We'll continue on to Gibeah." He answered, "Come, let's try to reach Gibeah around. You can spend the night in one of those places." So they continued on. As they came near Gibeah and Benjamin, the sun went down. They stopped there to spend the night. They went to the city's main street and sat down, but no one took them home for the night. That evening, an old man came into the city. He had been working in the field. He was from the hill country of Ephraim, and he was living in Gibeah. The people who lived there were from the tribe of Benjamin. The old man saw the traveler in the main street. He asked, "Where are you going? Where did you come from?" The Levite answered, "We've come from Bethlehem in Judah. We are on our way to Ephraim. I live deep in the hill country there. I've been to Bethlehem. Now I'm going to the house of the Lord. But no one has taken me home for the night. We have straw and feed for our donkeys. We have food and wine for ourselves. We have enough for me, the woman, and the young man with us. We don't need anything. You are welcome at my house," the old man said. "I'd be happy to supply anything you might need, but don't spend the night in the street." So the old man took him into his house and fed his donkeys. After the travelers had washed their feet, they had something to eat and drink. They were inside enjoying themselves. But some of the evil men who lived in the city surrounded the house. They pounded on the door. And they shouted to the old man who owned the house. They said, "Bring out the man who came to your house. We want to have sex with him." The owner of the house went outside. He said to them, "No, my friend, don't do such an evil thing. This man is my guest. So don't do this terrible thing. Look, here's my virgin's daughter, and here's the Levite's concubine. I'll bring them out to you now. You can have them. Do to them what you want to, but don't do such a terrible thing to this man." The men wouldn't listen to him. So the Levite sent his concubine out to them. They forced her to have sex with him. They raped her all night long. As the night was ending, they let her go. At sunrise, she went back to her house where her master was staying. She fell down at the door. She stayed there until daylight. Later that morning, her master got up. He opened the door of the house. He stepped out to continue on his way. His concubine was lying there. She had fallen at the doorway of the house. Her hands were reaching out toward the door. He said to her, "Get up, let's go." But there wasn't any answer. Then he put her dead body on his donkey. and he started out for home. When he reached home, he got a knife. He cut up his concubine. He cut them into 12 pieces. He sent them into all the territories of Israel. Everyone who saw it spoke to one another. They said, "Nothing like this has ever been seen or done before. Nothing like this has happened since the day the Israelites came up out of Egypt. Just imagine, we must do something. So let's hear your ideas." Proverbs 29. Whoever still wanted to obey after being warned many times will suddenly be destroyed. Nothing can save them. When those who do right go strong, the people are glad. But when those who do wrong become rulers, the people groan. A man who loves wisdom makes his father glad, and a man who spends time with prostitutes wastes his father's wealth. A doing what's fair king makes the country secure. But those who only want money and tear it down. Those who only pretend to praise their neighbors are swearing at it to catch them by the feet. Simple people are trapped by their own sin, but God people shout for joy and are glad. Those who do what is right want to treat poor people fairly, but those who do what is wrong don't care about the poor. But those who make fun of others stir up a sin, but once people turn anger away. Suppose a wise person goes to court with the foolish person, and the foolish person gets mad and pokes fun, and there is no peace. Murderers hate honest people. They try to kill those who do what is right. Foolish people let their anger run wild, but wise people keep themselves under control. If rulers listen to lies, then all their officials become evil. The Lord gives sight to the eyes of poor people and those who treat others bad. Yeah, that's what they both have in common. If a king judges poor people fairly, his throne will always be secure. If a child is corrected, they become wise. And a child who is not corrected brings shame to their mother. And those who do wrong go strong, so does sin. But those who do right will see them destroyed. If you correct your children, they will give you peace. They will bring you the delight you desire. But there is no message from God. People don't control themselves. But blessed is the one who obeys wisdom and instruction. Servants can't be corrected only by words. Even if they understand, they won't obey. Have you seen someone who speaks without thinking? There's more hope for foolish people than for that person. A servant who has been spoiled from youth will have no respect for you later on. An angry person stirs a fight, and a person with a bad temper commits many sins. Pride brings a person low, but those whose spirits are low will be honored. To help a thief is to become your own enemy. When you go to court, you won't dare to say anything. If you're afraid of people, it will trap you. But if you trust in the Lord, He will keep you safe. Many people want to meet a rule, but only the Lord sees that people are treated fairly. Those who do what is right hate dishonest people. Those who do what is wrong hate honest people. Psalm 62. It is surely true that I find my rest in God. He is the God who saves me. It is surely true that He is my rock. He is the God who saves me. He is like a fortune. I will always be secure. How long will your enemies attack me? Will all of you throw me down? I'm like a leaning wall. I'm like a fence about to fall. Surely my enemies only want to pull me down from my place of honor. They take delight in telling lies. They bless me with what they say. But in their hearts they ask for bad things to happen to me. Yes, I must find my rest in God. He is the God who gives me hope. It is surely true that He is my rock and the God who saves me. He is like a fort to me, so I will always be secure. I depend on God to save me and to honor me. He is my mighty rock and my place of safety. Trust in Him at all times, you people. Tell Him all your troubles. God is our place of safety. Surely ordinary people are only a breath. Important people are not what they seem to be. If they were weighed on a scale, they wouldn't amount to anything. Together they are only a breath. Don't trust in money you have taken from others. Don't put false hope in things you have stolen. Even if your riches grow, don't put your trust in them. God, I have heard you say two things. One is power that belongs to you, God. The other is that your love, Lord, never ends. You will reward everyone and keep them with what they have done. Now that's done, I shall now do the Lord's Prayer. Please bow your heads. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as you also forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. See you tomorrow. Bye.